Konnichiwa. Today we're going to discuss Kotlo ni suru and Kotlo ni naru. Last week we looked at yo ni suru and yo ni naru, and we briefly recapitulated the fact that when we say something ni naru, we mean that the thing we're speaking about turned into whatever is marked by ni. So if we say Sakura wa kairu ni nata, we're saying Sakura turned into a frog. If we say ni suru, we're saying that someone deliberately turned what we're talking about into the ni marked na. So if we say Majo ga Sakura wo kairu ni shita, they say the witch turned Sakura into a frog. So what about koto ni suru and koto ni naru? We know that koto means a thing, but not a concrete thing like a book or a pencil, but an abstract thing, a situation or a circumstance. So, if we say, Kekkon suru koto ni shita, we're saying that surely it became the thing of getting married. Obviously we have to have a zero pronoun here because something has to become something. So what's it? Well, it is what it might be in English, the situation, the circumstance. The circumstance turned into one in which we're getting married, in which getting married is the thing. We have to use koto here because, as you know, we can't attach the logical particle ni or any other logical particle to anything but a noun. So, we use kekkon suru as the modifier for koto in order to give us a noun of the situation or circumstance of getting married. So what does it mean? We turned the situation into the thing of getting married means we decided to get married. We brought about a situation in which getting married was the thing. And so the textbooks will tell you that koto ni suru means decide something. And it's not quite as simple as that, as we'll see in a moment. However, if we say フランスで留学することになった, we're saying it became the thing of studying in France, which really means it came about that I am going to study in France. The situation turned from one in which I'm not going to study in France to one in which I am going to study in France. Now because koto ni suru is a deliberate act done by whoever is making the decision, koto ni naru is taken to imply, in many cases, a deliberate decision. So we can translate this most of the time as they're sending me to France to study. It's been decided that I'm going to France to study. The thing to notice here, though, is that there's no actual mention of a decision by anyone. And in this case, it doesn't matter if we assume that that's what it means, because it probably does. Some people will say, kekkon suru koto ni natta, which kind of means it's been decided that we're getting married, or more literally, it's come about that we're getting married. And the reason for saying this is that even though in this day and age, the people who decide that they're getting married are almost always the people who are actually getting married, it sounds a little less forceful and a little less ego-centered. Not to say we've decided, but just to say it's been decided or it's come about. And I have to say that sounds a little bit more pleasant to me as well, but I'm just an android, so what do I know? However, we may also say, teihen na koto ni natta. And what that means is the situation became a terrible thing. And this does not carry any implication that anybody decided it ought to be a terrible thing. It does not imply a decision, and there's no reason it would, because there's no mention of decision anywhere in koto ni suru or koto ni naru. In many cases, a decision is implied, but in cases like this, and there are many times when you'll see koto ni naru working in this way, all it's telling us is that the situation came about, not that anybody decided that the situation should come about. So this is why it's important to learn structure in Japanese, because if we just get a handful of Japanese and a handful of English alternatives, Goto ni naru means it is decided. Well, sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. The important thing to know is what's actually going on in the sentence. Then we can make a sensible assessment ourselves of what's being said when we see it in an anime or a book or in conversation. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below, and I will answer as usual. I'd like to thank my gold Kakashi patrons who make these videos possible, and all my patrons and supporters on Patreon and everywhere. And I'd like to thank you for attending this lesson. これからもよろしくお願いします。大好きですね。